Yo guys, Vision SGN here, bringing you more Marvel Rivals content with my top 3 series, where I'll be breaking down each of the top 3 hybrid heroes in the game as of right now, based on their versatility across multiple categories such as damage, sustain, and mobility, and as well as their overall impact on the map, but also their strengths and weaknesses. So, on that note, let's get right into it. Now, for this new series of top 3 heroes in each category or subcategory, as I've explained in my previous episodes on this channel, I'll be ranking each role and playstyle of all of heroes in the game as of right now, following the latest update. I'll explain all of the reasons why each character makes it into this top 3, whilst also addressing the purpose of this series, as I do think it's important that all players understand, especially new players who need to learn more about the game, that there's more than just 3 basic categories or playstyles for each hero in this game, and not just the basic Vanguard, Duelist, or Strategist. Now, as an example of that, if I were to ask you who are the best 3 duelists in the game, and considering how many there are, you wouldn't be able to tell me which 3 are your best unless it's your personal favourite, because are we talking about the 3 best DPS based on actual damage? Are we talking about the best 3 ranged duelists, aerial duelist, dive, hybrid, you name it? There's so many different styles, and this is why this series will help players understand who are best in each category. Now, as for the top 3 hybrid heroes, these heroes possess various traits from multiple roles or playstyles who offer versatility across the board, which allows them to adapt to various situations. And just to be clear, this is not a guide video on how to play these characters, it's purely just ranking them based on their abilities and how they effectively combine their role and impact matches. So, coming in at number 3 is none other than Psylocke herself. Now, the term hybrid can be interpreted in various different ways in this game, but for me, Psylocke, she's a very versatile duelist whose playstyle revolves around agility, stealth, and combo-based damage, making her a high-skill hero with a 5-star difficulty rating. Now, some might disagree that she's not a hybrid hero, or at least not even top 3, but across all of the heroes in the game, she's got one of the most well-balanced set of abilities that allows her to fit into various different playstyles whilst also being effective in each role. From being incredibly evasive, mobile, and stealthy to having crazy burst DPS from both close range to long range, and as well as being able to dive, snipe aerials, and also being great for sustain, which is essential for her role, seeing as she's one of the more complicated roles to play, and with her sonic crossbow as her primary and her winged shurikens, with each shuriken that lands grants her bonus health, which further enhances her survivability whilst diving into combat, and then of course her sideblade dash, which is her short range dash abilities that allows her to damage enemies in her path and then can be used twice in succession, which further offers flexibility for engaging or escaping from situations. And then of course she has the psychic stealth ability, which gains her 50% increased movement speed and is key for her to be flanking or repositioning whilst unnoticed. And then she has that really cool overpowered ultimate ability known as Dance of the Butterfly, which is actually top 5 fastest ults to earn, and I've actually made a video about that on my channel. But this ultimate is really good for picking off key players, and as well as her team up ability, the Sonic Disc, which allows her to restore her health based on damage that she's taken, which further boosts her survivability and complements her for dive heavy style playstyles. Psylocke is a flanking style player who excels at picking off squishy targets like healers or backline DPS, but using all of her abilities, which allows her to be more versatile and initiate ambushes or escape from danger really well. Of course, her strength includes her burst damage, her mobility, and ability to disrupt enemy backlines, as I've mentioned. She's particularly strong in 1v1s and a great isolation player, especially against snipers or flyers, thanks to her hit scan primary fire and as well as all of her abilities, as I've mentioned. However, her weakness is crowd control, seeing as she's a squishy player herself and she's susceptible to things like stuns or sleeps, and poor positioning can often lead to her being caught out and dying. So just consider that if you're going to play this style of character. But overall, that's why she comes in at number 3 for this hybrid list, because she's one of the most versatile and well-balanced characters in the game, with multiple areas that she excels at, and as an all-round character, she can pretty much do it all. So coming in at number 2 is the Winter Soldier himself, being a duelist with Vanguard-like traits and also a great hybrid as he combines his duelist DPS with Vanguard-like durability and control, having great sustain and crowd control using his abilities. His roster stern is his primary, and his Bionic Arm deal both high damage, whilst abilities like Tainted Voltage slow enemies and his Bionic Hook pulls them, which adds crowd control to his playstyle. And as well as this, his passive Ceaseless Charge boosts his health and reloads his primary during ability uses, further allowing him to sustain for longer than most other duelists, and when chaining his abilities makes him really effective in isolation and certain situations where he is 1v1ing players like Thor, who myself, I main Thor, are using quite a lot at the higher levels in competitive, and this is one of the few characters that actually causes me problems, as he can stun me and stop me from being effective as a Vanguard, and quite effective at doing so, but also then has that range advantage. Now, of course, we have to mention his ultimate, the Kraken Impact, which strikes the fear of God into any player who hears the words again, which deals a crazy amount of area of effect damage and has the instant kill potential. And when in use, he's pretty much unstoppable almost, very similar to brawling style tanks when he's in this phase. And as an overall player, his strengths are overall sustain, damage output, durability, and crowd control. However, of course, he then has weaknesses, which are he's less mobile than other pure duelists, and when he mistimes his abilities, he can often be caught out, which leaves him vulnerable. But as an overall player, he's got to be one of the most well-rounded players in the game, if not the most well-rounded, and he's very versatile across all different playstyles, who fits into various different categories. So coming in at number 1 is Mr. Fantastic. He is a duelist hero with Vanguard-like traits, and he's a standout hybrid as he merges duelist damage with Vanguard-like durability. Using his elasticity allows him to absorb damage using his reflexive rubber ability, whilst also his Brainiac Bounce ultimate delivers great DPS whilst bouncing into enemies and dealing great area of effect. He's essentially an off-tank hero with regards to his ability usage, creating space for his team really well, and with regards to the latest Season 1.5 buffs, he's become a lot more viable. Now, he's not a pure DPS by any means, but his ability to stay alive and just deal damage makes him a top hybrid pick for sure. He has a high survivability, decent damage, and great team utility across all of his abilities. He can deal great range damage to both aerial duelists as he can stun them and take them out the sky, but also he can deal damage to multiple enemies per hit, and once he builds up enough elasticity to reach that full state or go into inflated reflexive rubber mode, he can absorb a crazy amount of damage and deal great amount of damage as well. However, he does, as I mentioned, lack the raw DPS of pure duelists or the survivability of a pure tank, so he's somewhat in the middle, but I guess that is exactly what makes a hybrid player, as he's really well balanced in two different categories. He doesn't excel at either or versus other actual players in each of their respective categories, but he mixes between the two really well, and you can use him in various different situations, and not even to mention his team up ability, of course, which further allows him to be more effective. But for the most part, he's really effective in various subcategories, i.e. range or brawling or tanking and all sorts, which for me makes him the best hybrid in the game right now based on all of his abilities and playstyles. But of course, as I do in all of my videos, I also want to shout out another hero who's worth mentioning for this list and could be up for debate for top 3, or some people may not agree with it at all, but Mantis is definitely one of the best hybrids in the game in my opinion. She's super versatile across many different categories, being a great healer, being a great team support player with the ability to be able to crowd control and stun enemies as well. So as an all-round player, I think she's definitely worth mentioning as a hybrid because she also ticks a lot of the boxes in various smaller subcategories. She's not the best healer as such. I would probably put her top 5, not top 3. She's a really good team support as she applies damage boosts for her allies, but then she also is great at dealing individual damage herself, and also, as I mentioned, being able to crowd control enemies is huge. So as you can see, she's really versatile in multiple different subcategories, which makes her really good and versatile across the board and as a hybrid player. But anyways, guys, there you have it. That's the top 3 hybrid heroes in the game right now. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. If you have any alterations you'd make to this list or any issues with this current list, let me know down below in the comments and I'll get right back to you. I'm VisionSGen, and I'll see you in the next one.